Hello, Battle Union fans. My name is Chaos in the Sky, and welcome back to Power Rankings. We are now on to Week 4, the midway point of the season, because this is an 8-week season for this TBU Season 5 whatnot. I am, as always, joined by the Shroom Raver. How's it going, Shroom?
It's going very well. Hello again, Battle Union fans. Week 4 has happened. Lots of interesting games, some intriguing results, and some fun sets all around. There was some good games to look forward to in this one, which made things interesting. We had one substitute player in. Kyle is, of course, away at the moment, so he had Merc come in for him. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, so I guess without further ado, should we just crack straight on with the list?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Take us to number 12.
Alrighty. Sitting in at number 12, we do have SS Baby I sitting there after a very, very tough 5-0 loss to Trev, up against pretty much one of the best teams as singled out by us early on. I was intrigued not to see Salamence. I know that Trev was as well. But I was happy to see Lipard. I always like seeing a bit of Lipard action. I mean, looking into the game, Peyton started off actually really well. The first few turns, he was looking really good. He was getting initiative. His early play was great. He got some good momentum. It allowed him to get a nice toxic off on Trev's Blastoise. So actually, early on, he was looking nice. But I feel like Trev was kind of just scouting him out a little bit and allowing it to happen. Then things went downhill quite rapidly. It was a very hacksy game. There was a lot of crits on both sides. It was actually quite entertaining to see that I think Scolipede for Trev got 2 crits with Earthquake. And then in revenge, SS with Volt Switch on Rotom got 2 crits as well. Not too many of them actually were game-changing, other maybe than the one on SS's Rachi. It meant that it got to the point where it died to Rocky Helmet, which was unfortunate. It didn't necessarily edit the outcome, but it just meant he could have had something to go to as fodder later on, and that could have really helped him. We saw Revenge hit him on top. That was quite cool. Nice build to take any kind of hit from Kieran Black and then just revenge it with, I believe it had Technician. So that was quite nice. As I say, took a couple of crits, got a couple in return. Only the Rachi one really mattered to any extent. It felt in the game like Peyton lacked some offense. In reality, he actually didn't, but as seems to have been a little bit of the story, he just really never got a foothold after such a great start, which was a shame. He was playing so well early on. And then, yeah, a bit of hacks pegged him back, and it just seemed like he just really struggled to get into the game. Came up against some bulk from Trev, and he just, by the time it was ready to come in, his offense was severely weakened, and he never really got back into it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fair. I can kind of see why he wouldn't bring Mence. Like, looking at Trev's team, when is it ever really going to get a DD off? And then Piloswine and potentially Greninja and Scolipede and whatnot. So, I mean, Salamence is always a good Pokemon in general to have around, so I can understand being like, you have a Salamence. Why wouldn't you always bring a Salamence? But at the same time, I can look at it and be like, there are a lot of Pokemon that can stop Salamence right here. Like, Blastoise can absolutely, even when it's at +1, possibly even +2, take a hit and Ice Beam it to death. Scolipede,
I suppose that's true.
Scolipede can get Protects off to outspeed it, even if it's got a DD, if it wants to play that game, especially if its Z Crystal has already been used up. Piloswine can hit it with the Ice Shard. Greninja, I think Greninja won't outspeed once the Salamence is at +1, but it does have Water Shuriken if it's gotten low, and it's really hard to find. I don't see any of these Pokemon where he could really get a chance to get a DD off, as long as that Simisear had HP Ice or something to hit it with.
I suppose, yeah, it would be kind of it would kind of rely on the item he's got if he's got like one of the move weakening berries. But as you say, there's quite a lot of options going on there. Like even, for example, like a Sash Greninja, which isn't exactly uncommon.
Yeah.
As you say, the Piloswine, the Blastoise.
Yeah, he's got priority to stop it. He's got no Pokemon for it to really set up on. He has a Sash Greninja potentially. He has a Blastoise, which can absolutely take a +1 hit and probably kill with Ice Beam if it's not Yachi. I just don't see, and without a D-Dance, Greninja always revenges 100% of the time, unless it's
Yeah.
unless it's Scarf Ments. So I just don't see, I don't see an opportunity where he could have really had. I mean, he might have gotten more kills if Ments was there, but I don't think Ments would have been able to do enough to pull back a 5-0.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair assessment, to be honest, looking at it. So, yeah, an unfortunate one for Peyton. Hopefully, the team can get their groove back at some point. He's got some. I mean, pretty much the team has free reign at this point to kind of run those slightly odder sets on Mons like Lipard and Rachi. Maybe we'll see that in the future of the team. Hopefully, we can.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, with that, we can move on to number 11 on the list. That is going to be RTK. He went up against the thus far unbeaten Tennessee Dynamos and took a 2-0 loss there. Bringing the double fairy core of Finny and Fairy Silvally. I quite enjoyed the idea of Z Switcheroo Hypno. He brought Z Switcheroo, which gives you +2 speed, and Nasty Plot. Now, by TBU rules, you can't pass them both, but he's keeping his options open. He can pass the speed, he can pass the Nasty Plot, or Hypno can use either one of them to try and get a Psychic off somewhere along the line. It started quite well for RTK. Turn 1, Toxic Spikes went up, but then he crit froze the Nidoqueen.
The best
so that
of
was,
strategies.
That was nice for him. Yeah, when in doubt, just crit freeze.
Exactly.
100% of the time, it's a good thing for you to do.
Exactly. It works out, man. It's like the strategy used by the champions.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually think that RTK was playing fairly well for most of the mid-game. He had a really nice idea to pass speed into Electivire, which I believe worked out. Unfortunately, he didn't quite have enough damage on certain stuff for Electivire to sweep, like the Granbull was still at full health. And once his opponent was able to pass a Wish into that Granbull, it was fairly easy to stop the Electivire. If not kill it, then to put it in range of a revenge kill. And yeah, basically, RTK, whilst he played well, he had to take a lot of damage on a lot of things in order to keep up. And, the last thing you want to do when your opponent's got a Mega Lopunny is to take a lot of damage on everything. Because Mega Lopunny will do what Mega Lopunny does best. It will clean up.
Exactly. Everyone knows
that's exactly what happens.
The best thing Megalop can do is do 70 to 80% to every Pokemon.
Yeah.
So,
and RTK had taken more damage than that.
Absolutely. You've got to always make sure you have at least one thing healthy to try and deal with Megalop, or else it'll be at the point where it can clean. But yeah, also, I mean, it was a really cool idea to pass the speed into Electivire, but like you said, the Granbull still had way too much going for it. It's not really the best strategy to aim for when your opponent has not only an Intimidator, but 2 priority users, one of them being Mega Lopunny. But it was a very cool idea and thought it just didn't pan out for him, unfortunately. Do you know, why did he bring the Silvally Fairy? He wanted double Lopunny answers?
Yeah, he wanted the Lopunny answer. It had, what's it called? That move that Silvally gets.
Parting
that changes
shot?
type.
Oh,
that changes type.
Oh, the multi-attack.
Depending on...
Multi-attack.
Yeah, he had Fairy multi-attack, he had Flamethrower, Ice Beam. He was just sort of like super-duper offensive.
Okay, that's fair.
So he had the coverage.
He should have just run Ghost Silvally because it's immune to normal and fighting type moves. That would have worked out so much better.
Of course, that would have worked perfectly against the Mega Lopunny.
Exactly. I mean, like, all he has to do is get Silvally to learn Skill Swap in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and then wait for the games to come out so that he can use it. And then it would have worked out fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, he's tried to use Silvally Fairy too early, really, is the point. He's tried to use it a couple of generations too early.
Yep, that was the mistake on his part, and he will suffer for it this week. But, I mean, there really isn't much to say. RTK had some cool ideas, didn't execute them as flawlessly as needed, let stuff get too damaged in the process of it, and then Megalop does what Megalop does.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great strength for Ethan to have it, but we'll come on to him sort of much later on.
Way later in this video.
Way later on.
Way later on. But let's, for now, let's move on to number 10, which is Someone that we never expected to be here, but we have Paul and the West Coast Wingles in 10th place.
Yeah.
He took a 1-0 loss this week in one of the worst ways it could have happened. It was really, I mean, like, I don't want to take anything away from Frito, who defeated him this week in the narrow 1-0. Frito did very well in this battle, but it's really heartbreaking to get to the end of a match and then have to lose by killing yourself with Brave Bird against a Gliscor that has no attacking moves.
Yeah, and actually Frito's at number 9, so we can talk about both of them at the same time.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even realize that. Yes, Frito and the Welchians are in 9th place. So I noticed 7th and 8th were, but I did not see 9th and 10th. So we'll go ahead and do 9 and 10 as one. 10th is West Coast Eagles. 9th is Frito and the Welchians. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Paul up first. Now, I was a bit confused because Paul, I feel like what Paul did here.
I was also a bit confused when he drafted Braviary instead of Rufflet, because Rufflet would have killed the Gliscor. So I'm pretty sure that's where you were going with that entire tangent. So I just wanted to take over for a second. Please, please continue. Please continue.
No, what I was going to say was his decision to bring Sticky Web. Now, I actually think that it was the right decision to bring Sticky Web. I think he had completely the wrong justification, because he said that Frito has a very slow team. And sort of not really. He kind of doesn't. He's got a bunch of things at base 100. He's got a bunch of things quicker than it. He's got some base 90s and 95s. It's not slow. So, you know, what Paul was doing was bringing the webs to make sure his sweepers could outspeed. But what he was actually doing, whether or not he thought so, was bringing it so that he would slow down what's actually a fairly quick team.
Yeah, Frito's issue in regards to his speed isn't so much with the level of speed, but rather the speed tiers.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure we touched on. I don't know exactly how we worded it, but that's how I always meant it, is that you don't want all of your speed tiers so bunched together. You want a range. You want, you want a Pokemon that's really slow, like 30 to 50, so that if you come up against Trick Room, you can try and take advantage of it. You want a Mon that's like 100, then like a 115, then a 130, because it stops your opponents from being like, oh, well, my base 118 can be modest, because it'll outspeed his base 100s, which he doesn't have anything close enough. But then actually it's like, oh, but he has a 109, and if I'm modest, then it'll outspeed me, so I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why you want your speed tiers to be as ranged as you can manage while still having your team fit what you need to fit. Which is where I believe we put Frito on the bottom half of the table with his team when we did post-draft PR. That was one of the major reasons, is because his speed tiers, it's one of those things that you don't think of a lot when drafting, but once you get into prep, it really starts to show. And I know Frito himself I've spoken to him, and he said that he is really annoyed with all of his base 100s and his other Pokemon being near that base speed, because it makes prep really annoying for him, which I can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think Paul brought webs. He was correct to bring them. I just think his justification was confused. But at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do. Frito, complete hyper offense. Aside from just a couple of little things, like he had the sub Swords Dance Roost Baton Pass Gliscor.
Yes.
I was worried. I was worried for him when I saw that, because taunt fodder is never ideal, and he knows that Paul is bringing Mew offensively whenever he can. Something like a taunt setup Mew would love that set. And he could well have done that, so I was worried for him. Now, straight up turn 1, Frito with the big boy play. Excelgor versus Braviary, yeah, we'll casually just stay in on that. Debatable, but successful. I think Paul going for U-turn was actually the right play no matter what, because it could have been a sashed Excelgor. Leading off with that's not uncommon. I know he was expecting choice specs, and that's what turned up, but you never can tell. And Excelgor can be fairly powerful, and once, you've gone for a Brave Bird, you brought it down to Sash, you've taken Recoil, and it goes for like a hidden power, and then follows up with a Water Shuriken, that's the end of his Braviary. Then we have the game of, I've got no Mega Guard switch-ins. Yeah, but you've got no Scarf Braviary switch-ins. So they kind of just punched holes for a little bit, and that was some good old-fashioned brutality.
Hey,
I thought Paul...
Really quickly, I don't know what set Frito's Gliscor was. I just put max HP, max defense, no boosting nature. But regardless, max attack, adamant, Rufflet, and Braviary. Here are the damage rolls. For Braviary, 40% to 47% are its
Mhm.
rolls. For Rufflet, 45 to 53.6.
Well, there you go. That just says it all.
Exactly, man. I'm telling you, Rufflet would have had this game on lock. Okay, please continue.
Uh, yeah, there was just some good old-fashioned punch out from those two mons, Mega Guard and Bravery. That was very nice. I thought Paul used Bravery well. Scarf Bravery was a very good bring. You know, it just kind of destroyed a lot of what Frito had. You know, Frito's only immunity to return would have been his Jellicent. That at
He
this point I
didn't.
think he
He
still
did
had.
not. He didn't have jealous. Yes, he did. You're right. Yeah.
He could have brought it for this week. This was last week. He could have.
Yes. Yes. You're
And
right.
his only resistance being the Cobalion, who doesn't enjoy Brave Bird. His only really answer to Brave Bird would have been the Zapdos, who doesn't really enjoy a return. So nice use of Braviary. Frito managed to pull off the baton pass thing. So you know what? I was worried about it, but fair enough. He got a Swords Dance into Cobalion, and that was the end of Mega Blastoise.
We would like to reiterate once again that just because something works in Pokemon doesn't mean it was the
Yeah.
right thing to do in Pokemon. So everyone just keep that in mind. Frito can make these bad ideas work all he wants, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Possibly, possibly. Then we see sort of Paul he needed a Scald on Cobalion, he didn't get it. Sorry, the burn. He didn't get the burn and Cobalion killed the Mega Blastoise. And then we get down to a big point in the game where Paul is in with Mew and the web's up, and I think it's the Emboar that goes down after trying to get a flame charge up, and Mew takes it out. Then in comes the Zapdos. Now, Paul for the first time is able to get off that big Genesis Supernova from Mew
Which is such
onto
a
the
beautiful
Zapdos.
move.
It looks outstanding. And he goes for it on the Zapdos. Zapdos lives on 8 HP and gets the absolute clutch defog off. And that basically is what wins Frito the game 1-0.
Do we know what the roll on that Zapdos was? If it
We
was
are
a
not sure.
roll at all?
I think I'm not sure. I genuinely don't know. We'll have to sort of look that up.
Yeah, I'll like do some theory stuff while you finish
Yeah.
up on this and see if I can get a general idea.
Yeah, I mean that was basically what won Frito the game. It allows sort of the Cobalion, I think, that was still alive to get another kill maybe. You know, it allows the Excelgor to do some outspeeding. It's unfortunate for Paul. I know that because then it comes down to Gliscor versus Bravery, and Gliscor just kind of Brave Bird stalled the Braviary, who had done so well in the match. This, I hate saying this to Paul, this is why we don't rely on Sticky Web. You can't rely on it. Because this happens, the webs go, and that's the end of the game. I don't know if this is a conscious decision Paul has made. He's focusing a lot on these, he's still focusing a lot on these slightly complex win cons. In this case, it wasn't particularly complex, it was just Sticky Web needed to be up. He'd you know, done speed creep on everything with Sticky Web up.
Yeah, to be honest, like, the worst thing you can do is rely on Sticky Web. I've had Sticky Web in League before. Never count on it, ever.
And this is the thing, it wasn't there when he needed it because of this clutch live from Zapdos. Which may have been a roll, it may not have. We're still going to look that up, but
do you know if that was do you know if that was a Fizdef or a Spidef Zapdos?
Oh, it has to have been Spadef to take a Genesis Supernova
What
from
was
Mew.
what was the Zapdos at when it got hit?
Like near full?
Near full? Well, I mean, like, max HP Zapdos, no Spidef at all, from a modest 252 special attack Mew, Genesis Supernova does 78 to 92.
Oh, in that case, it wasn't Spadef then. It can't have been. It must have been mixed.
Yeah, it was
because
that
was a maxed out Mew.
It was probably mixed, and the dose just it was probably not even a roll.
I forget entirely.
If the Zapdos was near full, like even if the Zapdos was at 80, if it had like more than 50 EVs in Spadef, then it was either heavily in Zapdos's favor or it would not die.
Well, I can have a really quick look and see exactly what the spread was on the Zapdos. Survey says
you do that
while, it was max HP, max Spadef, calm nature.
Oh, there was absolutely no universe unless that Zapdos.
It can't have been at full. It can't have been at full. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
However, if it was Genesis Supernova's max roll is 65, so it had to be like half. No, it had to be in between 55 and 65 for a roll to have mattered.
It was at 140 HP.
140 HP. I am calculating this in level 100s. Let me change that really quickly.
This is how we do things, TBU fans. We do things on the fly.
How much HP did it have?
140 out of 197.
140. Oh, so he was 252 HP.
Yep.
He was at 71%. There was no universe in which it died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you said it was max Spadef column?
Yeah.
Max roll
according to his pace bin.
Max roll from Supernova is 67. It was at 71.
Huh. Well, there we go. Wasn't going to happen then. But yes, this is why we can't rely on webs, basically. And I feel like Paul is...
Actually,
I feel like he's almost changed his style. I feel like last season he was much more free with who he was using and who could do the damage. And this season he's focusing a lot on win cons. And I think maybe he just needs to possibly get out of that mindset and try and be a bit more flowing with what on his team can do the work.
By the way, if the Zapdos had 8 HP left, then that Genesis Supernova was a max roll as well.
Oh, wow. Well, there we go.
He got the full 67.
Well, there we go. A good win for Frito, a tough loss for Paul once again. He's still yet to get off the mark. And hopefully he can at some point. I hope that he can.
Theoretically speaking, he can still get playoffs. He needs Cloud to choke a lot of games, and he needs Slyro to choke like half of his games, and he has to win out. But it is still scientifically possible for Paul to make playoffs. I'm just saying. It would be one of the greatest comebacks of anime history.
Oh, it would.
It would make it into like really the top 10 anime comebacks and everything. It'd be right. It would. It would be right there next to top 10 anime moments. It would be like the second one, right after Frito getting 6-0'd by Excelgor.
Certainly would. But yes, I think we probably rambled on for long enough about that one.
Yeah, we looked way too into that. But let's move on to 8th and 7th, actually. They battled each other this week as well, so we're going to double up on them, too, to make up for the time we've just wasted. In 8th place, we have Potato Jim and the Meath Mamoswines falling down 2 spaces into 8th, and they took a 3-0 loss this week to 7th place, which is Slyro and the Pittsburgh Pyroar, who's really... After a bad first 2 weeks, unlike Paul, he's really gotten back on the horse and gotten into the game again.
Yeah, it would seem so. Teams up first. Jim, that pace bin in your description is not the pace bin of the team you used. That's very selfish.
Unacceptable. I'm going to have to, reprimand him.
Kneecap him.
Exactly.
Quite possibly. You don't need your knees to upload videos. Unless you're doing things in a strange way. But on his sets that he had, Cursed Gastrodon is cool. We like it. He was very prepared for a potential Trick Room. So he's like, Cursed Gastrodon, that sounds fun. Skill Swap Victini was the meme of the week, though. This was beautiful. Put in place in case of Vaporeon or Mega Mawile, both of which you came. You know, you skill swap that Vaporeon, you wall it because it can't scourge you, and you actually get back health. You skill swap Mega Mawile, and you're a pure power Victini. That's an owl.
I think you mean huge power Victini.
Don't tell me how to live my life, but yes, I do.
I believe he also had Flame Charge, didn't he?
Yep, he did.
Because
he did.
I know that in the battle it happened to Vaporeon, but the idea was always for it to be Mega Mawile. It was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be skill swap on Sucker Punch. Mawile Sucker Punch suddenly does half as much damage, and then you can Flame Charge it because it's a Steel type and get +1 speed and then sweep from there.
It actually does a quarter of the amount of damage because he was Colbur Berry as well.
Ooh. I
like
it.
Really nice building from Jim.
That's like a really niche scenario, but it's one of those niche scenarios that's like more likely to happen than any other niche scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. On Sly's side, there's not really too much to say about the team. It was nice to see Drampa. That's a thing.
I don't want to talk about Drampa. Because when Slyro made his team and we gave him like 4th place or something in PR, because Slyro always somehow drafts a good team but then does horribly for like 2-3 weeks, then does well again. The one thing we said was that it started to get worse as it went. It was like really good, then kind of good, then Drampa, then mediocre, then bad. And Drampa was just like the outlier. I'm pretty sure we actually used Drampa as the dividing line of where his team went from great to not so great.
I think we did. I think we did.
I'm pretty sure that was like 4 or 5 weeks ago now, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly how we described Slyro's team. Is above Drampa, it's a bunch of really good stuff. Below Drampa, there's like 1 or 2 okay things, because I think Yuxi was beneath Drampa maybe, or something like that. And then everything else was just trash that he happened to have.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, into the game then. Turn 1, Jim loses Mega Absol because he missed a Will-O-Wisp. That was unfortunate. That was very unfortunate indeed. The rest of sort of the early to mid game, much as we've had a lot of times with Jim in his games, a lot of scouting and kind of forcing Sly to play the same way. Heracross was putting a lot of pressure on because Swords Dance Heracross is just scary. Mr. Megahorn, that was unfortunate. Although it was quite entertaining when Sly brought in Morwild to very nobly die before it even got to Mega Evolve. That was quite fun.
Oh, that was so good.
It was like he's got a Swords Dance up with Heracross. I'll go into Morwild, get the Intimidate, and it's dead.
No, you see, actually, once again, this happened in another week, but I don't remember what week it was. But this was actually all part of Slyro's grand plan. He knew from the start that Victini was going to be the skill swap, and he knew that he was stupid enough to fall for it. So he just removed the possibility of him falling for it by losing his Mega Mawile.
That is a combination of genius and idiocy that only Sly could pull off.
It's knowing your own limitations of how dumb you are and working with it.
It is indeed.
Sly, I love you.
We did have some other good building from Sly, though. He had Tangaberry Crook, which was interesting for the Signal Beam Jolteon that did turn up. Jim, I think, once again, he said that he was using Gastrodon too passively. He's still playing it too safe. It was kind of just sitting there, and by the time he got it to Curse, Uxie just 1v1'd it. And, you know, he was really quite over-prepared for this idea of Trick Room that never showed up. So he was always going to be a little bit on the back foot, and, you know, letting Jolteon go was just a bad idea, really. That I think he mentioned himself, like, he realised that it wasn't the best idea to let Jolteon go when he did. You know, Sly was able to play nicely around that aforementioned Gastrodon. Vaporeon was being a bit of an issue. He was able to keep Thundurus healthy enough to threaten constantly, so that was nice. We did see Memetini do things, though. It did get off the skill swap against the Vaporeon. That was nice.
You see, Slyro was smart enough to realize that he was stupid enough to fall for it with Mega Mawile, but he wasn't clever enough to realize he was still dumb enough to mess it up with Vaporeon, too.
I'm just going to agree with you on that one. there were so many limitations and possibilities in that sentence.
Yeah, it's at a level that only myself and Slyro can understand.
Agreed. Yes. He does get Memetini off and got a kill. He probably should have flame charged earlier. He said that himself. He knows it. But Memetini did good. We like it. The first real proper signs of Jim memeing it up and getting, if not massive success with it, it got a kill. So there's that. He knows he would have done better with a properly offensive Chomp. He brought bulky defensive this week. Well, would have been better if he was fully offensive. Would it have edited the scoreline? Seems doubtful. Especially when, Vaporeon, who can take a hit from a maxed out Garchomp. It's a Vaporeon, it'll do that. And it got the burn with Scald, and that was really nailing the coffin time for Jim, unfortunately. A good win for Sly. He seems to be getting his mojo back. Jim, after a good start, seems to be doing a little bit of the opposite. But we're at the halfway point. 4 more games to go in this initial stage, so plenty of time for both of them to either get back on the horse or start messing up again.
Both of them absolutely still have playoff potential as well. In Slyro's division, Paul has, absolutely lost it. And Cloud is only ahead of Slyro by 1 win, I believe. So it's very possible for Sly to take it after this win against Jim. And Jim is tied with Frito and Alex. All of them. Well, he's technically at the front runner because he has the best differential of the 3. But in terms of just wins and losses, they're all 2-2. So it's absolutely possible for both Jim and Sly to still make it into playoffs. So it is... It's very important for them to keep going well despite wins or losses and whatnot. And if there's anything we can take away from this match, it's 2 things. 1, Victini is possibly the greatest Pokemon of all time. And 2, Mega Absol is kind of absolutely the worst Mega of all time.
Quite possibly at this point.
I always just see it fail. It can't take Draco Meteors. It can't hit Will-O-Wisps. all I hear from other people is about how bad it is. I'm waiting to see someone make me think that Absol isn't trash, but at this point, I think there's like never a reason to have it as your mega.
It's gone 1-1 so far.
You know what? Let's move on to 6th place.
Well, we can do the same thing once again because at 6th place we have Cloud, I believe. Is that right? Yes, we have Cloud.
Yeah, Cloud in the Jersey
in
Weaviles.
6th, who took a 3-0 win over number 5. Admittedly, Alex, who took the 3-0 loss, he's moved down 1 position. Cloud has moved up 1 so far.
People are going to start thinking that we set up these tables to like do 2 people at once to make it easier on ourselves, because I did not realize we had 3 battles in a row of just the people being together. I noticed Sly and Jim and did not realize any of the others until we started recording.
No, me neither. But it works out nicely. It's nice when a plan comes together. Yes.
I've also just realized that 3rd and 4th battled each other.
Really?
First and 2nd battled 11th and 12th, and then everyone else battled the person next to them on this list.
Oh, that works out nicely. Oh, that's very good of our coaches.
It's
Thank
almost
you, coach.
like it was all planned. Little did they know, when I took over the TBU, I actually scripted every single game ahead of time.
Dude, nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
Well played.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I had to figure out that whole Slyro is too dumb to stop the Victini, but is smart enough to remove it. It was really difficult.
You've done well, though. Right, no. Alex versus Cloud. A 3-0 win for Cloud. Teams. Alex bringing Spark Tapu Koko. Like, I get it. I get that there's no recoil there. I get that it's boosted in electric terrain. I get that it's actually fairly powerful.
I get that he never went for it because I didn't know that until you just said it.
Yeah, it's just take the recoil. Just run Wild Charge. It's so much more powerful.
Was the Tapu Koko banded?
No, it was I forget what item it was. It might have been Life Orb.
No, it wasn't Life Orb, because I watched Cloud's perspective, like, literally earlier today. It was the only game I hadn't watched. And I only had time to watch Cloud's perspective. That just happened to be the one that I found first in the plug chat in the Discord.
Right.
And the entire game was Cloud trying to figure out if the Tapu Koko was banded or scarfed.
Well, we can find that out right about now. Let's have a little look and see if we can find out exactly what set it was.
Shroom
it was
goes
scarfed.
more into, it was scarfed. There you go. Before Shroom goes more into this game, I wanted to say, above all else, I'm really happy with Donphan getting 3 kills and not dying, going like 3+ in this. I'm really upset that the stupid Pancake took that Hydreigon kill from Donphan at the very end, because Donphan deserved that 4th kill.
Well, this is true, but it's good to see Stunfisk putting in work. I mean, on Cloud's side, look what we have here. Possibly the best defensive core of the league so far, and one of the top 5 ever used. Wigglytuff Stunfisk.
Yeah, it's
what
not, you know, Celesteela isn't there or anything.
Celesteela wasn't defensive.
Was it not? Is that
no,
why
it was max HP, max special attack.
I mean, a Celesteela with max HP is still pretty defensive.
Wigglytuff Stunfisk. That is all.
Fair enough.
But yes, that was good. Scarf Celebi was there as well. Nice to see that running an offensive spread. I was surprised to see no U-turn, but I guess he wanted all the coverage, so fair enough. Alex, on his side, picking up on the importance of Toxic Spikes in this league. He had Toxic Spikes on the Slowbro. Never quite got the chance to go for them, unfortunately. Spikes? Why did I say Slowbro? I meant Mega Beedrill.
Oh,
they're like two of the most opposite Pokemon.
I was so lost, because for a second there I was like, wait a minute. This whole time, every time I thought I needed a T-Spiker on a team, I could have drafted Slowbro.
They're next to each other on his team list. I don't know. It's like 20 past midnight right now.
Whose fault is that?
Shardy's.
You know what? Yua, let's keep going.
Yes. Right. Alex, final thing I'd say, no Flash Cannon on Hydreigon. Now, he picked up on the fact that everyone's been bringing Bulky Wish versus him, and his opponent's got a Wigglytuff that completely walled his Hydreigon.
Not only that, he's up against a person who has brought Wigglytuff voluntarily, even though he did not have to, 3 weeks in a row.
Yes, that is correct.
This might even be in a row. I'm not even sure. I just know it's been in 3 games.
It's 3 weeks in a row.
That is ridiculous.
It is. What I do think about Alex was that this is Trick Room done right. We mentioned last week, I forget who it was, where there was a few limitations on Trick Room. I think this was done well. He's got contingency, damn straight. He's got contingency in the form of Tapu Koko and Mega Beedrill. He's got a solid offensive setter in Slowbro. Did I say that already? No, I said Coco. He's got a Diggersby that was not speed invested but had quick attack and was life orbed. He's got a Fortress that can get initiative and was invested in special attack because it had Volt Switch and Giga Drain. So yes, I think this was a good Trick Room build.
Wait, did Alex have Trick Room?
Yes,
Oh,
he did.
he just never went for it.
Slowbro. No, he never got the chance to go for it.
Okay. You keep saying all these things that Alex did, and I watched the other perspective. I'm sitting here like,
Yeah.
these are really interesting things that I never saw happen.
I have to say I was worried about Alex initially because whilst I think he did that right, I wasn't entirely sure about his presence versus Celesteela. Like, this was the problem with having Spark on Tapu Koko. Celesteela will take that hit, and if Cloud had chosen to bring, say, Autotomai's weakness policy, I think he was done. Unless he got that Trick Room off, which I say he never managed to do in the game. So, yeah, that was a worry that I had. But he took out Celesteela early. He got a great start, and this whole thing of Diggersby versus Celesteela, when Diggersby went for the Fire Punch and it was Ockerberry. Now, Diggersby did take out the Steeler, but Alex was like, I think Fire Punch was one of my biggest misplays because it made me take huge damage on Diggersby. I don't think it was a misplay. I think it was probably the right play to go for. He had no way of knowing that Celesteela was running Ockerberry. When you're up against a team with a Tapu Koko, you are so much more likely to run Wakanberry. So, you know, I think that was probably not actually all that bad of a decision. It meant that he took massive damage. I think his weaker choice was not going for quick attack on the Gallade when he had the chance. Now, he mentioned that himself, that it was a problem because it meant that Mega Beedrill couldn't revenge it. You know, Cloud was under pressure early, losing that Celesteela, but he stuck to his game plan. He was insistent on getting those Stealth Rocks up because he knows the importance of hazards up against Alex. And he actually played with the Wigglytuff really well. He managed to get 2 wishes into it. And Alex was never quite in the position when that wish came in to take out the Donphan. And that was really good play on Cloud's part. He used his wish pass incredibly well. He kept Donphan very healthy. And, you know, Donphan ended up with 3 kills.
Did you
so
watch...
that was really good.
Did you watch Cloud's perspective?
I was unable to see Cloud's perspective.
That last wish into Donphan was actually a complete mistake because he looked away from the television or the DS screen, whatever he was doing, and did not realize he had been flinched by the Hydreigon. And so he went for a Dazzling Gleam, thinking he was about to get a lot of HP back, and then he didn't get any. And then he thought that the Hydreigon would kill him because he thought the way it happened is the Hydreigon just did that much damage. And then he was really confused when the Hydreigon swapped out because he thought, why didn't he just kill me?
Huh. Well, then it was a very, very lucky mistake.
Yeah,
well, not mistake, but it was a lucky turn of events.
It was lucky that it worked out that way because his plays probably would have been different rather than trying to solely focus on getting that wish into Donphan. He said he went for a wish just because he thought he was dead and didn't want to do anything and didn't know what else to do instead, so he just clicked wish. And then the Hydreigon switched out because it couldn't kill, but Cloud thought it could, and he was really confused.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe Alex going for a return on Coco as the Donphan switched in rather than the Dazzling Gleam, like he'd already assessed that it was specially defensive. In fact, it was actually just max HP Assault Vest. So it didn't have any defensive investment, and the return probably would have done more damage. So it probably actually wouldn't have taken out the Donphan because, you know, it's a return from a Coco versus a Donphan.
The Donphan took like 130 HP from the first one he hit when he misclicked into Donphan instead of Steela.
Well, there we go. I mean, yeah, there was a few errors from Alex on this part. I think he built a good team. I think he built the right team. He just came up against...
Except for Spark.
Yeah, I still think that Wild Charge is the better move to run. I can see his logic, but I think that, you know, just go for the power. Just go for the power. You've got this powerful Tapu Koko. Go for the most powerful move. Like, Koko isn't going to be sticking around. It's hit and run. So just go for Wild Charge. Go for power. But yeah, I think Cloud played a fairly good game, actually. You know, his wish passing, whether by luck or circumstance or choice, was very good. He saved the right thing. And Donphan came through, 3 kills. I know you're very happy about that.
I absolutely. Donphan was like, I'm not sure if it still is today because I'd have to reassess everything. But it used to be back in the day my #1 favorite spinner of all time. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved having it in League. But I also used to think that Hitmontop was the second best spinner of all time. So,
Ah, well,
uh,
things change.
yeah, exactly. So I'd have to reassess that a bit, but I'm sure I'd still have Donphan up pretty high. Donphan has such stupid coverage. Why does this Pokemon get half of the moves it does? Like
Yeah.
it gets Ice Shard, Knockoff, Seed Bomb, Aqua Tail,
Gunk Shot.
Fire Fang, Gunk Shot, Thunder
Play Rough.
Fang, Play Rough. It's got like more than half of the types in the game in its move pool. It's dumb. But yeah, I mean, you summed it up pretty well. It's very good for Cloud. This is, again, another melee loss. I believe Frito was the only melee to win, but that has put them all into two losses, 2 wins. So they are very, very bite and nail right now for the playoff spot in the middle of the season. And Cloud is managing to keep himself ahead of Slyro. Cloud can only afford to lose if Slyro loses, because otherwise Slyro overtakes him for that playoff spot. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see if he can hold on to it and make it into playoffs, or if Slyro will overtake him, or if the mathematically impossible happened, or slightly possible happens, and Paul makes the comeback, and Slyro and Cloud both just absolutely biff it.
We will have to wait and see on that one. But I think moving on to the next two, again, we have 2 people next to each other who played each other. In at 4, we have L5 moving up by 1 to take the 2-0 win over Kyle/Merc. Now, again, it's unfortunate. I felt bad moving Kyle down last week after losing completely to Hacks. And now I feel bad moving him down again because he wasn't even playing.
Honestly, Kyle lost last week because he didn't go for Stone Edge, which, even though it's 20% less accurate by the laws of Pokemon, it probably would have hit over Ice Fang. But this week,
No.
I think this was actually the one match I didn't watch because I don't remember how this one went. So, because I know that someone said that a little bit of hacks happened, but I honestly don't know. I think I missed this match is the only one I missed because I've had a busy week. So I'm interested to hear you give the rundown of it.
Oh, well, there was. Kyle/Merc, I don't actually have team information as far as sets go. But from what I saw, I quite like what he brought. L5, he brought some very, very nice sets. We've got Chilenberry Infernape to deal with extreme speeding Lucarios. We've got a Scarfed Florges, and we've got an Agility 3 attacks Empoleon. That's all very cool. We like that. Now, first turn, we have Mega Sharpedo versus Drapion. And L5 knows that Earthquake can't kill the Drapion. So he's like, but he also knows Drapion can't kill Mega Sharpedo. So he's like, I may as well go for Waterfall and try and get the flinch. And turn 1, he gets the flinch.
That is how good players play the game.
Because then he just takes it out the next turn. And that was, turn 2, Drapion is down. And that was bad. That was unfortunate. I think L5 was making mostly kind of safe plays going through. He tried to get Empoleon set up with the agility fairly early, seeing an opportunity. He did get paralyzed by the Slowking. I think Merc was actually playing fine with the Slowking. He was up against an Empoleon, which he basically 1v1'd. When it got towards the end of Empoleon's life, he didn't go for the KO when he could. He went for Signal Beam over Scald, where Scald would have killed and Signal Beam didn't. Maybe predicting some cheeky switches on L5's part. But the whole thing with L5, he's in with this Empoleon versus Slowking, and he's paralyzed, but he's up to +6 speed, so he's still outspeeding everything. And he's doing, maybe 40% with Grass Knot versus Slowking, and he literally said, I might as well fish for the crit. He loses the matchup 1v1 to Slowking, and he's actively looking for the crit. And when he finally switched out into Florges going for Moonblast, he literally said, I might as well fish for the crit again. Now, I think L5 did some good building. I think for some of the rest of the game, he did some good plays. I wholeheartedly disagree with that mindset of I might as well fish for the crit. Because no, you might as well not. You're losing the matchup versus Slowking. You've got these two fast offensive things that can put in some work. I think it's. I don't know. It's not in the spirit of it. I don't agree with doing that. Because in the end, he ends up losing his Empoleon. It isn't going to win the matchup against Slowking. Slowking was the last thing left on his opponent's side and nearly brought it back. So he might as well have just switched out when he was predicting a slack off, which he eventually did, and tried to go from there. So while I think L5 did a lot of things right in this game, I completely disagree with that mindset of play of I might as well fish for the crit. It's not the kind of thing you can rely on, and it just seems, seems a little bit against the spirit of the game for me. That's just me. That's just me. But throughout the rest of the game, I think L5 did some lovely stuff. His builds were great. He played around.
Before you continue the tangent, I want to put my 2 cents in, or else I'm going to forget to, and we'll be far past the point anyways. I don't know if I would say it's against the spirit of the game, because in essence, Pokemon is a sophisticated dice rolling mechanism where it's all about hacks. I say that all the time, and I do mean it. Even though part of it's a joke, part of it is serious. Pokemon really, at a lot of times, is just a sophisticated dice rolling machine. It basically was a D20 roll that Kyle happened to get a 19 on last week against 19 was the miss, and he rolled a 19 and lost to Ethan. So I do consider that to be true. I don't know how long L5 went for fishing for crits, but when you're up against a Pokemon that's slacking off and you can kill with a crit if you get it within like 5 moves, I don't necessarily disagree with going for it like 2 or 3 times if it's not putting you in any danger. Like if it didn't give the Slowking a chance to set up or start sweeping or anything, it doesn't sound to me like L5 risked the game on trying to get a crit. So,
well, no, this is the thing. He didn't risk the game. I can tell you it was a lot more than 3 turns that he was going for it.
Okay.
A lot more. And Slowking wasn't setting up. I don't know. I disagree with it on a fundamental level where you're literally just looking for hacks to try and get past something that you could have other ways of getting through. That's just me. That's
fair.
It's worked out for him because he's managed to sort of generally weaken things down, even though actually the Slowking wasn't one of those things. The Mega Aero, that was what he was looking for crits against with Florges, but he did switch into the Mega Shark, knowing that he could take a hit and then take it out with Aqua Jet, so that was actually a really nice play, and that's just the kind of thing I wanted him to do against the Slowking, because he had the ability to do it. He did it against the Mega Aero, he didn't do it against Slowking, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. As for the rest of the game, firstly, we should say actually that bringing in Landorus to try and get the Intimidate off on Luke was a good idea, but it was actually bad because he got the freeze with Ice Punch on the Landorus. That was unfortunate for L5. It was a double dance Landorus, so it could have put in a lot of work.
Is that why when I look at the team tab it says that Landorus T has 0 kills? Because I was really confused about that.
Yes, that's exactly why. He got instantly frozen.
Well, you know what?
So
as far as I'm concerned, he deserved the Grass Knot crit.
Maybe. But actually, the rest of his sets worked really well. Scarf Florges was able to do a lot of work. It nearly killed off the Mega Aero itself, but for a couple of HP. The Charlenberry Infinite worked absolutely perfectly, so that was an excellent bring on L5's part. And eventually, he was able to break through the paralysis on 8 to take out the Slowking. Slowking put in a really nice sort of last gasp, desperate action to try and take the game, and it nearly did, but for the fact that Infinite did break through that paralysis and took the game. So I have mixed feelings here. There were some things I didn't like about it, but I think overall L5 comes out of this one in credit. I think his building was fantastic. I think a lot of his play was excellent. Just that little passage that I didn't like. But he took the game, and that's the most important thing. A big 2-0 win. And it puts him in really good stead. And if he can keep using these slightly out there sets with their niches that come into play, I'll be more than happy. So yeah, a good game L5 in general. Overall, a good game.
All right. Well, I mean, that's really all I have to say because, like I said, this was the one match I missed. But we're almost at 50 minutes already. I took too long with my Slyro analogies. But let's move on to second place, who did not battle first place this week.
No,
It
this is true.
was Trev against SS where Trev got the 5-0 win. He finally brought his viewer pick. I'm trying to think. He might have been the last one. I think everyone else has possibly brought their viewer pick by now.
I don't know if Paul has.
Has Paul? What's Paul's? Vivillon.
Paul's
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Vivian.
Vivillon hasn't come yet, so I think Paul might be the last one. Then what's Alex's? He brought Meganium. Yeah, I know Cloud
Yeah,
has brought Wigglytuff like more than he hasn't.
Yeah, this is true.
Arts-
No, Sly hasn't brought Cottony yet.
Oh, yeah, there it is. So Cottony and Vivillon, there were only 3 remaining, and now one of those 3 is gone because Simisear came. And Trev bringing in this very nice 1 kill for everything. Really unfortunate on that death on Greninja. Kind of ruins the whole thing, but it looks very nice.
Greninja did kill itself, though.
Yeah, these things have to happen.
Yeah. As far as Trev teams go, I was surprised not to see P2. I don't even know if the matchup was good for it, but I was still surprised not to see it because it's P2. It doesn't die to anything. So, yeah, that was a surprise. I'm pretty sure Trev has shares in whatever company makes Rocky Helmet because he brought 3 last week and 2 this week.
Hey, man, when you've got Pokemon that bulky, you don't need leftovers.
This is very true.
You may as well hurt the other stuff more than you help yourself.
This is also very true. I also quite liked Power Herb Solar Beam Simisear. That was the set. Power Herb Solar Beam. That was nice.
Wait a minute. Why that over Z Grass? Do you have Z move on something else?
Yes, he did. He had Z Earth Power on Kyurem Black.
Okay, well then it's fine, I guess.
As we mentioned,
when you can't bring the Z Crystal, bring the next best thing, Power.
Absolutely, and also memes.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, as we mentioned, sort of when we talked about Peyton, Trev was under a bit of pressure early on. But he sort of absorbed that pressure quite nicely. He's got the bulk to be able to do that. He can sort of exist under pressure, if that makes sense. And kind of just, even without the bulkiest of teams, he still has enough to kind of just absorb early pressure, scout out his opponent's team whilst doing so, and decide on the best course of action. And, he did that. He gets lucky with the crit on Rachi, lets it die to one of his many, many Rocky helmets. I enjoyed seeing Z Earth Power just go off on the Rotom Wash and just destroy it. That was quite entertaining. Yeah, it was kind of a fairly formulaic game for Trev. Simisear came in and got a kill due to an overprediction. That was nice. And everything got 1 kill, and that makes me happy. As I say, it was sort of quite formulaic for Trev. He didn't really have to do too much special here. He benefited a little bit from that 1 big crit. There were other crits flying around all over the place, none of them game-changing. Yeah, it was just kind of almost business as usual for Trev this time. It was a much sort of better game, I think, than the scoreline dictated. But yeah, a 5-0 win for Trev. Good stuff for him. He continues marching onwards.
I think sometimes people forget when they look at all of the bulk in Trev's team that originally it wasn't the bulk about Trev that scared us. It was like the intense speed pass and offensive pressure of Scolipede, Kyurem B, what were the other 2?
Xurkitree and Scully.
Xurkitree. No, I said Scully. Scully, Xurkitree, Kyurem. There was some other 4th thing. Greninja, that was it, because he took it like round 2. So he can definitely, his team can definitely make do, even though now he's traded Xurkitree for Mega Kazam. It can definitely make do without having to fall back on its impressive bulk. So you can't just go up against Trev thinking, it's a super bulky team, I need to prepare for super bulky play. It's absolutely can play both ends of the spectrum between hyper offense and bulky, and then just bulky offense.
Absolutely. And he's done both very well indeed.
Yeah.
So, with that, we can move on to number 1 on our list, and it is, of course, our only unbeaten manager/coach, whichever phrase we want to use.
It's our only of course, unbeaten nerd.
Yes, absolutely. It's Ethan and the Tennessee Dynamos taking that 2-0 victory over RTK. I was mildly surprised not to see Delmise, or Delmise rather.
You're never living that down.
No. And not even necessarily because of the matchup. It was great versus half of RTK's team. It was terrible versus the other half. I was just surprised not to see it because it's always been there with Alan Momola. So I was actually pleasantly surprised not to see it because I thought, aha, there won't be any nasty, horrible, bulky Storly shenanigans. Oh, how wrong I was. Toxic Spikes on what was Toxic Spikes on his team? He had Toxic Spikes on something. Nidoqueen. Toxic Spikes on Nidoqueen versus an Alamomola with Wish, Protect, Knockoff, and Whirlpool. Ethan, you are a bad man. Stop. Stop with your shenanigans. It was gross because he gets the Toxic Spikes up. He gets Crit Frozen on Nidoqueen, which is deserved because of the Alamomola he brought. And then Alamomola came in and trapped the Tapu Fini. Even with Taunt, it was able to take it out after about 5 years. It was disgusting and a plan he had going into the game, and it was horrible, and I hated it, and it was perfectly executed, and that makes me hate it more.
I kid you not, I had a league game like 2 weeks ago. I was the one with Aloe. My opponent had Tapu Fini. They brought Whirlpool Taunt Toxic Fini to take on my Alomomola. And it actually didn't work out for him because I had a max attack modest Sylveon, and he tried to do it on that first. I did like 40% with Hyper Voice, and then Baton passed out, and it ruined his plan entirely to try and do that.
Nice.
But I just find that absolutely hilarious that like a week or two after I was in the exact reverse scenario where the other water type was Whirlpool Toxic trapping, Ethan did the same thing with the Mon that I had to deal with it with.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Ethan did it absolutely flawlessly. It worked out to almost absolute perfection. The only reason it wasn't complete perfection is because he did get taunted. And even that didn't matter. So like, oh, I can't use Wish Protect. Oh, well. I'm still going to take you out slowly and painfully. Yeah, once that was done, he was like, well, guess I can let Nidoqueen die now as fodder, which he did. He made a misclick on Dragonite, which didn't really cost him. It just meant that he didn't sweep with Dragonite. Because it was, multi-scale was then broken after misclicking, and, it allowed the Dragonite to be revenged. But then he missed a play rough versus Zygarde, but again, that didn't matter, because he played well around the setup of Hypno and Electivire early on. And as we mentioned when we talked about RTK, he did beautifully well in putting enough damage on everything to the point where Megalop could come in and kill everything that was left. Like, the only things that didn't really care about the Megalop were sort of the Hypno for a couple of hits, but he weakened that down very nicely. The Zygarde, which again can take a hit, but it weakened down very nicely and had Ice Punch for. The Silvally, which was gone, I think, by the time the Lop came in, or at least revenged it, and the Tapu Fini, which can wall pretty much Megalop for days, but he'd already dealt with it with his disgusting Alamomola. So yeah, Ethan comes in with a plan, and he basically perfectly executed it. It was disgusting in parts, it was genius in other parts. So, yep, another win racked up for Ethan. He is on an absolute roll right now.
Yeah, he's. I think he's confirmed for playoffs, even if he loses 4 games in a row. I think
that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, let me look here. He's in the exact opposite position of Paul. If he loses 4 games in a row, there is a small mathematical chance he gets knocked out. It's highly unlikely that happens, though. But I mean, I'm pretty sure if he wins 1 more game, then he is guaranteed. I don't think anyone can. He might lose his division winner, but I don't think he can possibly lose wild card if that happens. But yeah, it's Ethan is on easy street right now, basically, and it's well deserved because he drafted an amazingly good team and has done very well with it, even though he's been disgusting with it at times.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to go ahead and outro us out because we are like a minute away from an hour, and I want to keep our record of all PRs except post-draft being under an hour so far, I think. Well, maybe.
Awesome.
Week 1 might have been longer than an hour. I can't remember, but
that's acceptable.
Yeah, we do our best. But thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to leave comments below of what you think the PR should be and what you thought about the matches and all that. We always love to hear from you guys. There will be links in the description to coaches and whatnot. We're halfway through the season. It's been a great season so far. Some upsets that we didn't expect. Some close runs for playoff right now, especially in Melee Melee and Ula Ula. We have some very close races going there. And it's going to be really interesting to see who can make it, because it's looking like there are a couple of different possibilities, and I'm definitely looking forward to how playoffs will shape. Anything to add, Shroom?
Not particularly. Just as always, let us know what you think of the rankings, and let us know who you think at this stage of the season, who you think is going to be able to get through to the playoffs. Do you think there's going to be any late surprises? Let us know. We always love to hear from you.
Yep, indeed we do. So that will be all for this week. We'll see you for week 5, and until then, farewell.
Laters.